All right, Bannock County Commissioners, January 16th meeting is now in session. We'll start off with the Commissioners' invoices, reports, and credit applications, and Commissioner Moser has some questions on the Commissioners' reports.
There were just a couple things on the Commissioner's report. One of them, just the heading said that we spent $40,000 on 11-foot razor system, and I didn't have any idea what the razor system was. And after talking to Christie, we found out that they were snow blade parts.
And there's 18 of them.
And there was 18 of them, so that answered that question. The other one from the fair maintenance, we had $101 at the C-store, and that's all it stated was C-store. Found out that it was ice bags. I'd still kind of have a few questions about that one. I mean, we'll pay it, but
$100 worth of ice is a lot, so we'll follow up on that.
At $2,
we can make our own ice out there right now.
$2 or $3 a bag.
I'm just saying that we'll talk to the fair board and talk to Alex, and
Was he
we
trying?
need a better description.
Was he trying to keep something cool somewhere that needed to
That's
be?
what I say, I don't know.
That's a lot of drinks.
What's the date on that, too?
Is it from fair?
No, it was recent.
Invoice date 8/9.
So that was
So
fair.
That was
this is
fair.
fair, so it's that.
So they
Why
Probably was
why
last
are we
year's
paying-
budget.
Why are we paying it now?
probably just billed it from the C-store.
Valley Fuel sold, so they're probably just catching up invoices that haven't
That's
been
right.
paid.
I forgot they did so.
So they're probably using it for some of those vendors or
But
whatever.
it'll just be a reminder that we'll
Well,
have to
if we're
pass
using
on.
for vendors should supply their own ice,
Okay.
I would think, unless they're buying it from us. But I
Well,
didn't see
I noticed when I was down there, they were hauling ice to some of those vendors. And I thought, what kind of arrangement? I don't know what their contracts they had with the vendors, and maybe that was part of the deal. I have no idea.
Probably a good follow-up for
Yeah.
whichever commissioner is on that meeting.
Okay. We also have an online application from the coroner. Do you know what that's about?
They want to, it's to buy some of their supplies. They were requiring a credit app, and
Okay.
we don't allow departments to sign those, you have to. It is an online
Yeah,
application,
saw
so
that.
if you'll
And it
give
does
Christina
have
the
just the
authority.
signatures. Is it the chairman's signature? It's got my applicant name on here.
Okay. So if you'll give her the authority to fill out the application.
Okay, all right. Well, let's do that separately then. So, the Commissioner's report, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The coroner online application.
You both need to sign it.
Oh, that's right. The coroner's online application.
Jeff, I did have a question for legal, whether or not they saw the terms and conditions on the coroner's online application.
Oh,
Can you have them look at it really quick and just
You
make
bet.
sure it's okay?
send that down there then. All right, so while we're waiting for that, we have an internship approval for juvenile justice.
What's the last page?
And we have a memorandum for accounts payable. Just replacing somebody. Authorized payment claims. So this is Alan Bolham that we have approved previously. And we have a check request form for Wes Jones, pay for printing on the wildfire action plan. Any questions on any of those items? Okay, I'll accept the motion to approve those then.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We can start signing. How's that?
The only issue that I see in terms of conditions here, that states that any claim arising out of it, that Bannock County will consent to the jurisdiction of the federal court of Cook County, state of Illinois. I don't know if we want to find ourselves in court in Illinois, so I'd suggest that we change that to Idaho.
You know what, I would just pull that credit application because it's online, I don't know that we can change it. So
Okay.
if you'll just give me that back,
Okay.
I'll reach out and see if we can change that. If we can, I'll bring it back.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so we will pull that in. And that takes care of that. All right. First on the agenda is, we're going to have to go into the Board of Ambulance District for fund disbursement for a grant.
Mr. Chairman, I make motion to go into the Board of Ambulance.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. This is a fund disbursement for a grant for the patient, for the ambulance transport. Any discussion on that?
This is that grant that we talked about. They're going to allow us to do a prepayment as opposed to waiting for the ambulance to be delivered, just due to the timing of the closure of the grant. They didn't want to give an extension, and the granting agency was in favor of just giving us the funds up front. So
Okay.
it's a little bit different than a normal job.
Okay, any questions?
What's the total amount of that grant?
Should be on the document.
208.
Well, I see that amount there, but I mean, the full amount of the whole award, is that, I mean, this is just what's, you're requesting 208? Was that the total
So
amount
that's
of the
the total
grant?
award.
Okay,
And then we've got some match because we're buying an ambulance.
right. I know what those things cost. And you're not buying it for $208,000. Okay, that was the only question I had.
Okay, no further questions. I'll accept the motion.
I'd make a motion that we authorize for the chairman's signature.
We have a motion, further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And we need to go out of the Board of Ambulance.
Make a motion that we go back into the Board of the County Commissioners and out of the Board of Ed.
Have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Miguel?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy New Year.
Yes. Busy New Year.
Oh, yeah.
So, Teresa's, you guys know Teresa, the builder? Oh,
Introduce yourselves, please.
Sure. My name is Teresa Villalpando. I am president of the Bannock County Veterans Memorial Association. We run and maintain the Bannock County Veterans Building.
and I'm Miguel Dominic, the building historian.
The man that spends a ridiculous amount of time there.
Yeah,
Um,
I live there.
So we were just kind of give an update from the building. You know, we had a really great year last year. There were a lot of great things that were done. You know, on a regular basis, we host a lot of different events. So about 150 community events happen in our building outside of our own veteran organization events. We have a homeschool group that comes in and they use it every week. We've got a lot of meetings that happen every week, a lot of birthdays, a lot of fun things that the community does there. Let's see, what did we do last year? We had the windows finished. We had a new floor put in. We had some brickwork done. Yeah, so we're making a lot of headway on making sure that 100-year-old building sticks around for the next generation. And then, with the new year, comes new issues because she is 100 years old. And over the holidays, we got a nice surprise.
Yeah, so basically in a nutshell, we had a flooding upstairs in the women's restroom. The toilet that was upstairs, over the weekend while no one was at the building, it overflowed and it kept overflowing, and that water basically seeped through the wood and it went through the downstairs and flooded the downstairs. We had Serpro come in that Sunday to start drying out the water, and Roto-Rooter also came in, but they could not find what was causing the leak. I did have the city come out and they tested the two lines going into the building and found no problems within their lines coming into the building. So they said they had to be inside the building. We filed the claim with Farm Bureau Insurance, and Farm Bureau denied the claim and said that there is no coverage for that building that was built in the 1920s. Initially, when I asked for a copy of the policy, I got like a 3-page policy, and then I called them back and they said, I don't see anything that says anything about water. And then the lady told me they couldn't find it either. Well, as of 2 days ago, they found it and sent us an updated 106-page thing where it said the exclusion for anything from sewage, sump, or whatever. But we don't know it was from the sewage because there was not, the water was coming out clear. I also printed out all the photos of the damage that I can leave with you guys that shows everything that it did. Serpro came in, they did a lead abatement and an asbestos test. The asbestos test came back negative, but the lead was a high volume of lead in the paint. The problem is that water that drained, it pretty much ruined all the wood that's underneath that second level. And then it ran down along the American Legion room, which that paint that's on there, it's got an extensive amount of lead on it. And we've been kind of like stuck at a standstill. Now granted, this happened when our building president was on vacation, so that's probably why Christy and them have probably heard from me more. But it is, from what the two companies, we've had 3 companies in there. Elite Restoration refused to do a bid. They didn't want to do a bid because they found out the insurance company denied the claim, so they weren't even interested in doing a bid. But we did get one from Idaho Flood and ServPro, and both their numbers are pretty much up in the 200,000 to replace the walls, tear down the walls, rebuild them, and then the foundation has got a crack in it that goes in the American Legion room, and it runs up to the outside underneath the stairway on the Johnson side.
Yeah, yeah, she's almost 100 years old, and honestly, like, she has one problem after another, but I mean, I guess that kind of works with our bodies too, that, you know, as we get older, there's one thing that goes wrong and you fix it and then something else pops up, so.
And they did do 2 bids. So one bid sits at 100,000, both companies. The second bid sits at 200,000 because they're bidding it without the hardwood floors. Now the floors that are in front of that bathroom, those floors are bowed and bent. So you literally can stand on them and you can feel them squishing up and down. Because that's an historic building, if they replace just that flooring outside the bathroom, the problem is, because we're an historic building, it has to match the rest of the ballroom flooring. And that flooring has got to the point that they can't just sand it because it is pretty much at its final point of sanding, and the floor's got, like, you know, gouges in it, so they can't do any more sanding and repair. And the guy that originally did the flooring, he'd already told us that you can't sand that floor anymore. The boards would have to be replaced. So at the same time, we kind of have to follow the Historic Society on any changes we do into that building, and it's got to maintain, you know, that historic look. We do have our 501c3, which will help us because we just got that from the IRS, but it's not updated on the IRS website. So once that's updated on there, then we can get grants on the 501c3 portion of the building, because they won't do it on the 501c19 portion of the building. So
what do you have in your mechanical budget right now? Maintenance?
Only got about 11,000 remaining,
Mhm.
because they just did,
The floors.
So just did the floors,
Yep.
and we used ARPA funds for everything else that we just did this year.
correct.
Yes. Yeah, this is a little beyond our normal fundraising efforts. There's a few more zeros in there than we can normally manage to come up with. And again, as soon as the IRS can post, you know, an update on their website, our 501c3 status, we are essentially waiting for that to happen, because we have been
we do, yeah.
pre-approved, I guess, you know, for a few grants that would help out, but it's 2 to 3 months before they
So
will.
the functionality of the building right now, what are you able to do there inside?
So right now, as it sits, we're pretty much kind of like at a standstill. And ServPro and Idaho Flood and Restoration both said the same thing, that once they start that, they can't have people in the building because of the lead abatement. Now, they've sealed off those 2 rooms, but when we had that little incident the other day that you seen on the news, that also kind of broke the plastic, that those rooms that they had sealed off. So you're essentially starting to smell the moisture and the mildew on the dining hall downstairs now. And they said it's a situation that just can't be ignored, because you've got a cracked foundation. And for 2 weeks, ServPro's had the equipment in there, and they're still draining water out of the walls.
Well, the crack foundation didn't just happen.
No,
with
no.
this, So,
Yeah.
I'll argue back and forth with Service Pro that,
No, and yeah,
You
and
know.
we're aware of that too, that it just didn't happen. We just didn't know how far it went into the foundation until Servpro actually showed us through that wall.
Right. And then all the water seeping into the foundation and the walls from this incident has now made it worse. And a little more unstable, I guess, if you will.
What's the temperature in there? If water getting into that, is it gonna freeze?
Inside the building?
Yeah,
No, they,
inside that plastic area, because if you get water in there and it freezes, it's gonna expand and make that crack possibly worse. That's what I'm asking, whether there's any outside elements that's gonna affect the crack, making it worse.
Well, and we don't know, and the only thing that they've told us is that they did discover that the stairway we have on the Johnson side, for some reason, it's got like a huge dead space in it, like a hole underneath that stairway. And the inside, of course, it's kept pretty warm. They don't see it like all of a sudden just splitting on you, but the historic guy from the Historical Society, he did tell me that he's surprised that part of the wall has not fallen in on you guys, because he said you've got nothing on the other side and you've just got moisture that's dripping in there.
so the one side of the wall itself is underground and does have the moisture in the temperature of the ground. And then the other side, of course, is inside, but it's all concrete in there. And we do have, the heat that goes back there, so it is kind of a fight between the outside temperature of the ground and then the warmer inside temperature as well, so. Yeah.
And we did talk to the two companies that came in there, and there's work that we could do, like to cut the cost, but then the problem is, if we're doing that work, then there's no coverage on what the building does, and then the Historical Society also doesn't agree with that either, because they say you should have a professional company and they're doing it, so you don't end up going, well, we did it, and then, 6 months down the road, oh, look, it broke.
So what do you see as your paths forward?
We may have to use what we have obviously left in our budget, and then we're really honestly up to the mercy of the IRS, waiting on them to post an updated 501c3 status on their website for us to be able to get some of the funding. We do have several fundraisers that we are working on now to try to help compensate for what we will not be able to come up with. But again, there's so many fundraisers and so many groups happening, in this town, that it's always competitive, and what we can come up with in those fundraisers is not nearly what's going to be needed to take care of this situation.
Have you got your letter from the IRS?
Yes.
That's all you need. Once you have that letter, that is determining what your status is. You should be able to file grants with that letter.
See, and that's exactly what we thought as well, but they want to be able to verify it.
Who's they?
There is a private organization, they don't want us to call them out, but they are checking the IRS website for that.
Because they can verify that with a phone call. I used to run a 501c3.
Okay.
Once you have that letter, that is your determination. And so I guess my issues is totally sympathetic with that, but I'm frustrated that the Historical Society, without any funding, is putting teeth in something that we can't afford.
Yeah.
At some point, we may have to say, what's more important, the welfare of the county or your rules as a historical society?
and it was your organization that filed for the historical claim. It wasn't Bannock County.
No, it was
That's all
us.
right.
It
So
was us.
I mean,
And I,
they're tying our hands.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things that at some point, we're gonna have to put somebody with the Historical Society into the same room as all the rest of us and say, all right, what's the solution here? Because there are no, I'll bet you there's not a whole lot of money sitting around idle just saying, we are now going to fix a historical building. So the historical, by that designation, they are handcuffing us. I mean, that's my perception, and the 501c3 doesn't bother me a bit because I've dealt with those letters. Once you have that designation, your grants, whether it's the state, and I would ask, where's the Historical Society on giving you those grants? they have access to those kind of funds as well, I would assume, through, they should be able to dovetail with you. As long as you meet the criteria, they should be an advocate for you to help do that. I'm just throwing out some things, my observations, so.
And I have been on the phone with them probably 3 or 4 times talking to them about that. And it's like Teresa said too, that apparently for some reason, they have to, when they put it in, we've got the letter, but they also have to Google it, and we don't know what's the amount that they're gonna give us. I mean, it could be a $10,000 grant, that's not gonna make a dent in that, but the building right now, we're at the point that they're pretty much talking about, they would have to close the building essentially for 2.5 months. And then on top of that, then all the events that we had, now we have to refund all those people, for the events that we're gonna have to cancel for 2.5 months while they do the work. And Servpro is still in there. So we're just kind of at a standstill.
Well, at this point in time, I think, like the commissioners have said, I think our hands are tied, so just come back and keep us updated and poke around, and like Commissioner Tubby used to say, which I still love, bring us a 95% baked solution that you haven't asked for us, because right now it doesn't sound like you even have an ask for us other than we have a problem, let us know, and go from there.
If it's any consolation, we are sympathetic. Just don't have
Oh,
an
yeah.
answer.
No,
And
this board is.
my last question, why is it a she?
Why is it a she? Oh, the building? Oh, you know
And it's the
what?
women's bathroom that got you in trouble, so there may be an issue there somewhere.
Okay, we're gonna end that right there.
And I'd like to say too, I'm upset with the insurance company because no one has told us what has caused that leak to overflow, and Farm Bureau has already denied the claim because they're saying, oh, it's from the sewage or whatever, but no, they didn't say it's from the sewage because the water is clear that's overflowed.
Could be the
So,
tank.
That's why I had to appeal that decision.
Has Farm Bureau had people down at the building?
they had one lady come down, she took pictures, she spent 5 minutes down there, left, and we got the denial letter like the next day.
Okay.
So, and we went directly to Farm Bureau, and kind of talked to them about it too, so.
Yeah, big undertaking. As I said, we've had some great things happening down there, and it's like every time we take one step forward, there's another step backwards, and it's like you would think there's nothing left to take care of in that building until something new comes up, so.
Well,
Then I'd ask one other thing,
go ahead.
like the incident that happened the other day. It says Bannock County Veterans Memorial Building. Would you please call our office so that we're not blindsided when
Yeah,
something like that happens? I mean,
it was definitely a day where we were trying to not blow it out into the community and make a huge deal of it, and then I didn't even know the Journal had done anything until people started sending it to me, and then my phone didn't stop. I know his phone didn't stop, and he was down there dealing with it, so I think in just the chaos of the day, it didn't even.
And Servpro is the one that actually found it, and one of their members is a former police officer, so he didn't want his guys around it, and that's how the whole incident happened. And I talked to EOD, and they said it was a live round, so.
yeah, like I say, I'd just appreciate it if you'd
Okay.
just call Christie, let our office know, so, that- like I say, just because that title says Bannock County, and when it comes across, it's good that we are
Okay.
informed a
Yeah,
little ahead of
sorry,
time.
sorry.
And
yeah,
that was
it
my
was-
fault, because I had 10 million things going on.
Well, and I
that day, so
understand that.
I apologize.
It was crazy.
Can I leave this with you guys, or with Christie?
Just do it, Christie.
Okay,
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 Alrighty,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Yep. Dan, Kendall.
Good morning, Dan Kendall, Facilities Director. Thankfully, I don't have any bad news like they have. I was just going to start off with just an update. Maintenance-wise, snow removal is always our #1 thing this time of year. The steam pipe that sprung a leak in the tunnel, we're going to fix that over the weekend. So we'll have a company come in Friday and weld up the pipe, and then Monday, the holiday, they will shut the steam down and then replace the pipe. So we'll be back up and running Tuesday morning. They are replacing an 80-foot section, so we might as
80
well.
feet,
Yeah.
wow.
It's like it has an elbow and a 90. We might as well just do the whole stretch. It's the stretch that keeps
Doesn't have
having
asbestos.
issues, so hopefully we're getting to the end of it, but I have some guys over there. You guys signed that agreement for the filing cabinet, so we're kind of working on cleaning out the annex. It's turned into the catch-all for all furniture, so we're working on that. One of the items that keeps coming up, I've brought up a few times, is I'm waiting on some bids to permanently fix why we can't keep the toilets running at Ag Extension and the annex. So I think we're getting close. I think we have a plan. We just don't have the price. So when I get it, I'll bring it to you. Hopefully we get that permanently resolved so we don't have Roto-Rooter here every month. We fixed a roof at the snow groomer shed, and we fixed the heat at the Ingham shed. So as far as maintenance goes, nothing major's come up. As far as projects go, we got a bunch to kind of run over real quick. 6th Street, it's getting close. They sent an update last night that they're going to take down the fencing today. So we're going to watch that really close and make sure we don't have cars coming in or the people know where to go. I'm sure it's going to create some sort of a chaotic situation out there, but we're going to figure it out with orange cones and caution tape and whatever else we have to do to keep people going in the right direction.
So you're not opening the parking lot?
I don't want to do that today.
Okay.
No.
But they're taking the fence off of both ends, so you can drive on the street now?
They're going to cone it off instead of have the fencing. But
Okay.
I don't foresee how we're going to keep foot traffic from entering the area. But it's kind of a bad situation that they can walk in, but they're not going to be able to get into the building. They're still going to be closed. So we'll have to put up some more signs, some more cones, some more barriers. But I think they're paying a monthly fee on the rental of that fencing, and they're probably eager to get that turned back in. It's not doing a whole lot of good, and the wind tends to blow it over. So we will keep an eye on it and make sure it's safe, and then work towards moving or opening the road. We need to figure out a few things before we do that, but they're working on painting and kind of the finishing touches. But as we get to that point where CM is getting close to being done, then we need to take over and start figuring out the signage, the security, the new detectors that you guys signed off on. That kind of changed the layout of things a little bit, and so we have some work coming up. Even though it looks like it's almost done, there's still some things that we need to go in and start on. Most of it revolves around security. Those detectors are 2 foot deep, where the old one was 2 inches deep. So it changes how we're going to set that up. We got to figure out how we can key fob into some of those doors so the security girls can get in and out if they have to hand scan someone. So there's a lot of issues that we got to iron out, and it's not included in CM's scope of work. And so I'm working with Christie about how we can, won't be included in that contract, but we'll get that stuff taken care of. The first bid that came in is the security film. So the whole first floor has security film that's bullet resistant. They would like to have that reapplied on this new glass, and the bid on that was $9,000, and that covers the security booth window, and it covers basically all of the exterior glass on the new entrance. So not the interior glass, but just the exterior glass. And then we had one window that's broke, so we're going to have that put the film on that while they're here. So that's kind of something that comes up every once in a while. Every time we break a sill on a window on the first floor, you have to replace the glass, and then you have to have the film reapplied. So it's safe, but it's more work, and it takes a lot longer than it normally would to replace a window.
So Dan,
Yep.
on the security stuff, so with Captain Ballard maybe, who's kind of taking point on that, and who's directing traffic on that?
So Mark and Jen with the marshal's office works with Ames now to make sure that's taken care of. We have Pro Edge, a contractor that's coming in to do like the camera work and a little bit of the logistics for the key fobs. They do the wiring for that, and then we have a locksmith here in town that will help us as well. But As far as on-site and hands-on, it's mostly Mark and Jen keeping an eye on things to make sure we don't miss anything. And then they, once we got those specs for that metal detector, they are the ones that came in and kind of said, we need to move this because it's gonna block the whole window, so let's readjust our floor plan a little bit. Actually, I think it's gonna work out better. I think it's gonna create a better line of sight for the girls sitting in that booth by moving it back into that opening that's already there. So I think it actually worked out pretty awesome. If we can get that thing to show up sooner rather than later, we'll keep moving forward on it. But you'll see the tents out there. They are painting inside those tents. Well, they're heating it and painting and trying to wrap this thing up. So kudos to CM. They've been nothing but wonderful to work with.
I've been impressed with them.
Done a great job.
So these extras that we're talking about,
Yeah.
how are you paying for it? What's the deal?
It sounds like we do have a little bit of money set aside for overages or like stuff that wasn't included.
And that's what I was gonna say, we had about $30,000, I thought, that we hadn't spent yet.
No, every dollar is allocated or obligated, but we have that PILT money. So the
Okay.
thought was gonna be, we'll just, as we get to that point, we'll look and see where we're at with some of the other final bills, see if we can pay it out of ARPA, and if we start to run low, then we can roll stuff into
Okay.
PILT.
Well,
But
when we-
we'll gauge it as we get more of the numbers and represent that.
I thought we'd put 100,000 aside for overages on that. And the last I saw, we was about 70,000. Am I
Are you
wrong?
thinking the contingency money?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that contingency money went away because we had to obligate all of those dollars. And I didn't have signed contracts for those, so
Oh, we
that
just
money got
divvied it out.
absorbed
Yeah.
elsewhere. And so we have contracts for everything that has to be done. So
Okay.
that's how it stands with ARPA right now. But we've had a couple things pop up that are, like Shanna's gonna present on a change order
Yeah.
that may or may not be included within that project's budget. So we're just gonna have to see how we can.
And that's what I was thinking.
Maneuver
On our change
payments.
orders, we'd put about 100,000 aside.
That's the
Yeah.
number I would remember, that
Except, like I
100,000.
said, that had to go away
We had-
because I didn't have a signed contract for
For-
contingency.
Gotcha.
I didn't have a vendor associated with that,
Okay.
so.
Any questions on that project before I move to the next one?
Nope.
Okay, I will keep you guys updated as far as how we're gonna open that up and keep people flowing in the right direction. And thank you for your help, Christie, on that stuff.
So while we're there,
Yeah.
what about elections? And being able to go there and also across the street?
It's
Been
kind of
fences.
they're still painting on the election step, and they're still working on the fascia and the soffit. So I would think that needs to stay closed, and then obviously the ramp needs to stay closed. They're at the same, kind of the same stage.
Okay.
The metal is here for the soffit and the fascia. But he is working on putting up some plywood for some backing, and then he insulated it to try to keep it as warm as possible. So I think as soon as he's done with plywood, then they'll put the metal up, and then the camera guy will be here to start putting those up, and the lighting and that kind of trim out work, so. Yeah. The YDC building, you guys signed the easement for the new, for Idaho Power. So that sounds like it's working out well with everybody else as far as the sewer line. So we did receive the civil plan for the new sewer line. It is gonna work out to be able to tie that into, to the RV park.
Good.
So originally they had a septic tank design. We tried our hardest to get rid of that, so I think it worked out. We just got the plan last night. Headwaters is up there, maybe even today, setting up fencing. They're gonna put up their construction fence and get moving forward. They're gonna use one of those garages up there as their tool, like their meeting tool room. Thought that would be better than having to bring in a trailer and then having to hook up temp power for it. So they're gonna use that, and they are wanting to get started. They're gonna like to ride out maybe a little bit this cold temperatures, and then as soon as it gets back into the 30s, they're gonna start moving dirt. So I think everything's going well with that. I did forward the civil plans over to Hal and his team so they can get that permit updated. So we'll keep track of all these changes that we make. You guys okay on that one? The exhibit building in Downey, the building is on site. They stacked it in the parking lot across the street. It's pretty cool how they set it up. It's in order as they need it, so it's kind of in a long line, and they just pick up a section and put it in, go to the next section, put it in. Super impressed with that company as well. They have been super quick about getting the concrete poured. Road and Bridge has brought the gravel in that we talked about. It worked out well with, we probably needed 3 to 4 times more gravel than we anticipated because we changed sites, and that site is pretty sloped. You wouldn't think it, but it has a pretty good slope to it. So we kind of traded work where we brought the gravel in, and then that company didn't charge us to move all the gravel in and compact it and backfill, all that. So it's worked out really well. As far as that goes, we are going to bring a small change order because they ran into that tank that was underground. Wasn't a big number. They were super quick and helpful about getting it out and getting it disposed of. They did a great job. But they said 5 weeks they'll have the building up. So that's when we will start with the underground utilities, and that's when our fun will begin. So we got to get all the utilities underground so they can pour that slab and get the apron poured around it. So there's a lot of moving pieces to it, and we will, I think probably as of March 1st, probably won't see a lot of us here. We'll be in Downey and getting that thing going, because I think we need to really get moving to get that done before the fair.
That's our goal.
Yeah, yep.
So what was the tank?
They had an old diesel heater in that
I was
building
gonna
years
say,
ago.
probably oil or diesel or something for heat.
Diesel, yeah. No holes, no leaks. Came out super easy. They said they run into them all the time. They had the equipment there as they were digging the foundation and just picked it up, set it on a trailer, and it was gone before we even knew we had it.
Where does it go?
They,
Undisclosed site.
yeah.
Call Mountain Home, let them come in and blow it up.
Well, they pumped it, and recycle people wanted it.
Yeah.
They just had a few things. I think they had to punch some holes in it, and then they said they would take it. They actually offered to come pick it up, but not in the timeline that we were interested in. So worked out very well. Chambers project, the commissioner chambers. I guess that kind of is a chain reaction kind of thing. Maybe I'll start with the courtroom 320 because we've got our certificate of occupancy. We have a few finishing touches to do, and then the state's going to come in and finish their install work in February. So I'm actually meeting with Jason Dye, and we're going to talk about the move. So Jarman's going to go back up to the 3rd floor. Arraignment's going to come up to the 2nd floor. As soon as that happens, I'm going to tear that arraignment courtroom out. I've already ordered the woodwork, which takes forever, so I wanted to get a jump start on that. So we have the woodwork, the tables, the carpet, and the podium have all been ordered. I might have mentioned we're going to get a couple more bids for the audio video work. And we have a company coming today at 12:30, so we're going to get 2 or 3 bids for you guys to look at before we move forward on that portion of the project. Say 320 is basically done. City signed off on it. We're good to start moving our furniture in. And then the annex, fire suppression in that main area is done. The HVAC work, they have 5 of the 7 furnaces mounted. They're doing the duct work now, so the second we can, we'll put that ceiling in, and that's when that thing will really start changing, when we start putting the lighting in and the tile in. So it's moving along pretty good. I wish it was going a little quicker as always, but it's going okay. And then the gas lines have been installed up in the attic space. One of the questions I had for you was, we put that storefront or face of that building out to bid and no one bid it. It was probably over-designed, in my opinion. It scared everybody off. There was stucco, there was tile, there's siding. So when we didn't get a bid, I thought if I simplified it, I bet I could get some interest, and it turns out that is the case. We do have a stucco bid, and we do have a siding bid. If you guys are interested in moving forward on that, it's gonna be in the neighborhood of $75,000 to reface that building. So that'd be siding, new stucco, new signage. Just wanted to throw it out there. It was hopefully gonna be a part of that project, but when no one bid on it and we had the ARPA deadlines, it just kind of went away. But it is a part of that building permit if you guys are interested in thinking about doing it, but.
I'm interested in it, but I think that we need to look at it as next year's budget cycle. I think that we need to finish the project. I don't want to have one building that we just kind of stop at. So I think that it needs to be part of our discussion in budget, is the way that I would look at it.
And as we get closer to get some other projects done, we'll know how much of that PILT money we might need. I'd be leery in using that yet, because we don't know, but that would be an option later in the year as the YDC building finishes, or gets farther, the exhibit hall finishes up, some of those things.
How long could we leave that permit open?
I guess if you got a partial CO, if you said, hey, we want to use the building, we want to leave the permit open for the face, you can leave them open for over a year.
Yeah.
As long as you stay in good contact with the city and let them know what you're doing. And another thing is too, with a simplified plan, we're not doing the framing. I don't know that it actually is necessary to have a permit. Cosmetic stuff doesn't require a permit. The original design wanted a new taller wall built in front of the old wall. That's what would trigger a building permit. So it's kind of a gray area, and we could have a discussion with the city whether or not they would want to see it. Because if you re-stuck out any building, you're not going to get a permit for cosmetic type things. So it's something to think about.
I just soon you get some of them juggling balls out of the air.
Yeah.
And you get something finished for your sake as
Yeah.
well, too. So
Yes, sir. Yep.
I agree with Commissioner Moser. Just
Yeah, I do
table
too.
that just a little bit.
Just want to let you guys know where I was at on it.
How long would that project take?
It'd probably take 60 to 90 days.
Okay.
And where it's, the bottom and below, and there's a good separation, you could do, part of it, you could do the upper part and then do the, it doesn't have to be at the same time and shut the building down or anything like that. It's gonna be a lot more scaled back and easier to do with the simple.
Contracting
That
it,
street
so it would be
national
somebody not
highway
legal,
else out there.
Yeah.
other than overseeing the building.
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree. Okay,
All right.
thanks, Dan.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Scott?
Hey, Dan. So on the, just some information, on the fencing for the parking lot here, if we think it would be important to use fencing for that rather than to cone it off for a little while, we have a few fence panels they could use, but Downey has hundreds of fence panels that they could use. And so if it's a safety issue, but a cost issue, it would not cost us any money to go get some of those panels and put them up until we felt like it was a safe enough, until we felt like it was safe. So that's an option that would exist. It would just take us a little bit of time to go down and grab them.
Yeah, I would say, talk to Dan and see what you want to do, because I think it's, the less people we can have run through there, that cuts down on other issues that we have with security and things like that, so.
Yeah, and they have, down in Downey, they have a ton of them. And so we go down there with our flatbed trailer when we use them, and we can stack them 40 high, and they're 10-foot by 10-foot panels. So I would imagine you'd probably only need 10 or 15 of them, something like that.
Should we do
And
that?
so,
Yeah, I'd leave it in Dan's hands.
Yeah,
Whatever you need.
Fix it.
I think I'd rather
Safety
do that than
first.
go with the cones.
yeah, safety first, so work with Dan, see what Dan wants.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioner Scott Crowther, Event Director, Business Manager. Before you, I have a contract for our website and hosting services. We talked about this last year. Two things that kind of stalled it out when we talked about it last year was, one, we needed to have a legal review of this to verify the changes that we needed to make and send them. And I spoke with the folks at Carbon House about some of their legal changes and the things they wanted. And the second thing was, I had a little bit of sticker shock, and I struggled with the cost of doing business with this site. The more that we looked into it, the more we realized that unfortunately this is the cost of doing business with these guys. And I've spoken to some of our sponsors about this. One of our sponsors withheld a pretty substantial amount of money from us last year, and they cited the website as one of the main reasons they did so. So this is the contract that we got from Carbon House. We engaged them. John went through and reviewed the contract. And again, did an excellent job. Thank you very much. Redlined all the stuff we needed to, put in the verbiage that we needed. We sent it over to Carbon House. They accepted the changes that we recommended, and they were good with all the stuff that we had mentioned. So we updated the contract and sent it forward to you guys now. There are really two fees to look at on this. One is the cost for the website development, which is around $25,000. And then the second is the cost for the website hosting, which is, I think it's around $600 and something a month. But that we had added to our budget last year. So we have the money for the ongoing fees in our budget. The money for the initial cost would come out of the $200,000 that we have in PILT for concert-related expenses. So that's kind of our plan to pay for this. We do feel like this would be a value to us and to help us increase sales and revenues up at the venue.
Questions?
I don't have any. We've talked about this, so I'd make a motion that we authorize the chairman's signature on this contract.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Adam?
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Adam McKinney, Chief Technical Officer, again here today under the guise of 911 Emergency Communications Director. And I've brought Wes Jones.
Bannock County Office of Emergency Management.
Today we just want to start a discussion and see if we can get a path forward. Franklin County owns a repeater on the Sedgwick mountaintop. We own a bunker. Bannock County owns a radio bunker up there. This repeater is a VHF repeater. It's been in place for about 20 years. And Bannock County, Franklin County, Bear Lake County, and Caribou County currently pay the lease fee for that at $150 a month as a combined thing. To the Idaho Military Division. This repeater has been in place in the military division's microwave shack for 20 plus years. Military division's asking them to move that repeater, and the only option that they have is either to get a commercial site up there, or we've offered to consider allowing them to put that equipment into our radio bunker up there. This is a repeater that's a VHF fallback repeater. Search and Rescue uses it. South County Fire uses it. Oxcom, which is ham radio clubs, use it. Franklin County owns the repeater. The Bridger Land Amateur Radio Club out of Logan, Utah, which they do all of the maintenance, installation. They have the bonded insurance for tower climbing. If we were to be okay with moving forward on this, we would seek to get an MOU with the 4 counties between the commissions. We would, and this Bridgerland Amateur Radio Club, they would have to show us that they've got the insurance, the liability, the tower climbing equipment. They would pay the cost to move that gear into our radio bunker, and then we would continue to charge the 4 counties the nominal fee they've been using. The power is the only cost to us, and that would be recouped by continuing to charge these 4 counties that $150 a year fee, which is what they were paying for power in the first place. So this is a big moving piece. It's got to have 4 county commissions, a lot of moving parts. We met with the groups, and the idea is if our commission's okay with exploring that, we'll start to lay the groundwork for this. It wouldn't happen until mid-summer time. Idaho Military Division's given them the okay to leave that equipment there while we explore this option. We've got the space in that bunker. It's not a problem. We share that bunker with Caribou County. They've got VHF equipment in there now. So moving that gear would be, again, it wouldn't be on no cost to us. And we would continue to collect that to offset the power price up there. Other than that, that's kind of what we're looking to do, and we wanted to see if you guys were interested in approving something like that, start to formulate, write some MOUs, and if you had any questions about it.
I read through it last night. I thought it made
Looks
perfect
good to
sense.
me.
Okay,
So,
excellent. Okay, well then that's all I need. I will let them know. We'll start formulating, and we'll bring it back in front of you when we've got an MOU ready to sign and ready to move forward.
Just make sure you go with legal.
Yes, absolutely. We'll run it all through. It's pretty standard stuff, these shared counties, so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Since we're running close to time, I'm going to move you first so we can go and let those guys get back to work. If we have to move Shanda back after, it won't be devastating. So come on up, ladies.
Christy Clauser, Comptroller. The item I have for the board today is we have a couple of departments that have outside checkbooks. One of those departments, well, it's Ag Extension and 4-H. They have two separate checkbooks. Those checkbooks run all of their program activity through it. They bring in the revenue from people paying for the class, and then they pay for the class supplies also through that checkbook. They give us a quarterly reporting of that activity, but based on the meeting we had where we're now signing off on all of West Jones's activity, it brought to my attention that you guys are not signing off on any of this activity as well. So we would like to remove that checkbook. This falls under the purview of the clerk's responsibilities, but for transparency and departmental cooperation, we wanted to bring this before the board. We want to remove those checkbooks, and that activity will just come back through the county. So as participant fees come in or class charges, they'll collect that revenue with their cash register just like any other department would. They'll bring that money into us once a week. And then when they need to buy class supplies, they'll have employees come get a county credit card, use a credit card, go supplies, and then you guys will then be signing off on that activity. So that's the discussion. I've talked to Terry about it. We've got a process set up that's going to be just as easy as how they're doing it now. The only difference is they don't have a checkbook in their office to have a check to go buy the items, but most county departments, well, county departments don't normally have that. And this is a county department. These are county dollars because they are ran through Bannock County funds. So we're just going to bring them in-house and treat them like our other departments. Jason has checked with some of his other clerks. This is not a standard practice for 4-H and Ag Extension offices. So
Having their own checkbook is not a standard practice.
right. In fact, it threw some caution at some of the clerks that were told about it.
Okay.
So they were surprised by this.
Okay. You guys have any comments or thoughts?
I think we have it worked out. I've been working and getting reports. I'll get the final amount and get it to Christy and get everything taken care of for that.
And then what we're going to do is we'll just track all of that activity by their classes internally in our office, and they can call and get a monthly reporting of how much money is set for each, is sitting there for each of those classes.
Okay.
So.
Good. Any discussion?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for all you do. Shanda, you got 7 minutes. Can you do it?
I'll talk fast.
Oh, you got 8. My clock says you got 8. So you
I want the little green light thing going. Good morning, Shanda.
We can do that.
Chief Procurement Officer, and I have brought with me here today.
Jason Dye, Child Court Administrator.
So I have a couple items before the board. I'm going to skip to number 2 to get Jason in and out of here. That is a potential signature on a contract amendment with AberHealth. Just as a quick review, we went out for bid in fiscal year 2023 for drug testing services. That was awarded and contracted to AberTest, doing business as AberHealth, and we've been under contract with them ever since. That contract in section 22 just does allow the county from time to time to request changes to services in a form of a contract amendment, and that's what we have before the board here today. That contract amendment with AberTest has changed 3 different items. That first one is the payment, effective March 1st of 2025. We will move from paying $15 an hour to $16 an hour. And that is due to the second item that we're changing, and that is the right of control. Again, on March 1st of 2025, the provider agrees to maintain and operate a client care center. So instead of having it in our Lander building where we've had it for years, they'll have it in their own site. That space will be mutually agreed upon. So they'll have input on it from the county as far as if it's going to work for our courts and our clients. And then that effective date is the third item that we're changing with this amendment. And it just says that the changes in this amendment are fully executed once both parties sign and agree to those changes. The rest of them will continue to be the same. We do have a 90-day out for any reason, and we do have 1 year left on an automatic renewal if we so choose.
Cool. You see anything with this?
Nothing with this.
That means we can sell land or?
Yeah.
It's on the market March 1st.
Okay. Maybe we could put it on the market like mid-February with the closing date of March 2nd.
Okay?
Okay, any questions, discussion?
I make a motion that we go ahead and sign that, I guess, that contractor agreement.
Okay. We have a motion. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
After the meeting, then I'll go over to you. Okay.
Nope. it's all
Sure.
set.
Thanks, Jason.
Oh.
Okay, if we can go back up to the first item, that is the potential signature on a change order with Pro Builders. They are the contractor for the Tactical Training Center. When they started digging into the ground out there, they discovered the existing concrete columns weren't substantial enough to hold our construction project as we thought they were. And so as they dug down deeper, they ended up finding concrete down there and had to jackhammer it out to be able to allow the new stuff to go in. They were able to find and adjust enough charges to not charge us for equipment, material, the concrete, the disposal of the concrete, but they do ask, the change order is asking for the labor to handle that. I would recommend that Commission sign the change order with Pro Builders in the amount of $5,525.
And how are we paying for it? It's just in the,
I'll work that out. Overall. If we've got 10% contingency on the YDC building, right?
Yes.
And then were we able to do contingency on this one?
See, when you mentioned that earlier, I should have looked before I came and I didn't.
And doesn't seem like we did, but
I don't remember it on
I
this one.
will.
YDC I do.
Yeah, this one I don't remember either.
We had contingency, so we'll just work through, assuming that this comes in at total cost. Worst case scenario, we would cover it through PIL.
That's what I was thinking, worst case scenario was
So-
built. So-
Tell you what, going out there and looking at this and looking at what they're doing when we did the jail inspection, it's gonna make that facility amazing.
Yeah,
What they'll be able to do there and
yeah.
improve there.
And as we see these change orders and some of the things that Dan has brought forward, I'm probably going to need to do monthly updates on ARPA.
I was just thinking that.
As these things
Just thinking that.
come up, and if by some crazy chance we have a month where it's smooth and we don't have these, I won't do an update. But as we do, I'll just provide an update. And
As a part of that
we can
update,
look
can you
at
give us a kind of a running total of what we're thinking about PILT?
Yes,
So we can just kind of
100%.
keep an eye on that.
in fact, maybe I'll just add that column on the spreadsheet.
Good idea.
So,
Good idea.
I move that we sign the change order with Pro Builders.
All right, we have a motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
The dashboard is the last item I have. The two open bids we currently have are for the county fuel bid. The questions are due tomorrow, and we'll issue out an addendum. There are a few things that the county would like to clarify, and so that we'll definitely have an addendum, yes. Yeah, on that one. Just want to make sure I was using not amendment, addendum on that one. The second one is the diesel generator. We do have mandatory pre-bids. The second one is today at 11 o'clock. And while the other item on that one I wanted to discuss with the board quick was that while the bid is asking for a credit value for the generator and the fuel tank for consideration, we are starting conversations with county departments to see if they have other uses for that that we might bring back before the board as a potential item to discuss and talk about. But as Levi and I got talking about it, he's like, well, what if landfill, what if road and bridge? So we'll be reaching out to county departments to see if they have use for that before we suggest a decision to the board.
And my only concern with that is if we're getting rid of it because it isn't of age or it's outdated itself, I don't want to we have 3 more generators already out there. And I don't want a 4th one just because. So if we can work out and get some funds out of it, I really would like to press them in that
Does
direction.
McCammon need one for the fire station?
They need one down there, but like I said, we got three.
Okay.
Two that we got, one from we got from the city of Chubbuck and two we got from the hospital.
True.
That I've talked to Kyle and they're sitting out there, so we have to evaluate all four of them, in my opinion. But if we can generate some funds back, I think we need to take advantage of that also.
Generate some funds with the generators, I like it.
That's,
The only thing is if the residual value is inconsequential, hanging on to it doesn't cost us anything versus $500 that we might get.
that's what I say, if we
So-
can get some value out of it.
Yeah, if we can, whatever that value would be, I'd like, let's weigh that option of hanging on to it versus getting rid of it. I've learned as soon as you get rid of something, you wish you had it back. So, I don't
And
know.
that is our intent, right? We'll move
Okay.
forward and still ask those contractors to submit that credit value back to us while we vet out if there's an internal use for that and bring those items back for the board for discussion and approval.
Thank you.
Did it.
Thank you.
10 o'clock.
Okay, we are done with that.
On the money.
That's how we roll. Anita? And friends.
Do I need to,
In a minute.
no,
Okay.
do we need to establish that
Yeah.
we need to go into board equalization?
Yeah, so we will conclude our business meeting and move on to the next one. So we need to go into the Board of Equalization.
Make a motion that we convene the Board of Equalization.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
We sent out several in-occupancy, subsequent roll in-occupancy notices 3 weeks ago, a little over 3 weeks ago, and we have had no appeals. So we have no Board of Equalizations to bring to you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Well done. Randy, you got anything you want to add to that? I mean, you're here.
We've had some phone calls, but we've taken care of them. Yeah, so.
Okay.
This is what we like.
Thank you
Yes.
very
Yes.
much.
We want June to be like this.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Okay.
So, and I'll entertain a motion to exit the Board of Equalization.
With that, I will make a motion that we will exit out of the Board of Equalization.
Have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we will stand adjourned until 10:30.